Hello everyone, welcome to today's Novedge webinar. Boundless Design and Innovation with Inspire Studio. Inspire Studio is a new solution for innovative designers, architects, and digital artists to create, evaluate, and visualize design faster than ever before. And today's webinar presenter, Arjun Ajjampur, is a product specialist at Altair for Inspire Studio. He has a master in industrial design and over 10 years of experience working both as a designer and a 3D modeler. And this is Novedge.com, where you can find Inspire Studio. And Novedge is changing the way designers purchase 3D software, offering more choices, more freedom, best advice, and faster service. And we would also like you to get a good look at Inspire Studio in person by issuing a 90-day free trial that you can request emailing sales@novedge.com, and we will let you download it for 90 days, which is pretty spectacular. And now I'm going to share Arjun's screen, and he'll walk you over Inspire Studio. Take it away, Arjun.
Thank you, Barbara. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Welcome, everyone. No matter where you're joining from, hopefully you're safe, your family's safe. This is the last webinar in this for the year, actually, that I'm partnering with Novedge, but we'll have some more coming up in the next year for sure. So for those of you who are joining me for the first time, I'm going to quickly walk you through the features of Inspire Studio, a quick presentation, and then I'll jump into the program to show what it can do, how it can add value to your design process. So feel free to sit back and relax for the first part, and then if you have any questions, feel free to type in. I will try to answer it. This is a 1-hour webinar. We'll try to keep everything on time. And but Novedge is offering a fantastic promo for a 90-day free trial. So I would urge you to take it for a test run. So as Barbara mentioned, my name is Arjun. I'm an industrial designer and I work for Altair, mainly with the Inspire Studio product. So I help with the feature creation, prioritizing what is going to come up in the next versions, creating content for all of you out there. And I'm really excited to share what Inspire Studio can do. So as a product, Altair is really placing Inspire Studio in a very unique position. It kind of does a lot of things right out of the box. You don't have to add any plugins. So it's pretty new in terms of its user interface. For people who are familiar with Solid Thinking, which was the previous product, this is kind of a new direction, but with the same ideology. So it just allows you to create and visualize designs faster than most of the tools out there, leveraging construction tree and a mixture of tools that are available at your fingertips. Now, you might have heard of construction tree before. I mean, how is it different from other products out there? Yeah, for sure, there are many products that do surface modeling, but I think what they're lacking is the mixture of all the tools in one program. So as I was saying before, you can do sketching, surfacing, solid modeling, polygons, which is basically mesh modeling, and you can also create renderings and animations within one single program. So I think it brings tremendous value for the price that is being offered at, and it'll probably soon go off. So I would probably jump on this and take this offer. Moving to the program itself, there are going to be a few short videos in the beginning, like the one here, just showing you the interface, but I will jump into it more in depth. But here, I'm going to just play this quickly, which is going to show you the user interface and the way you can edit some options to change your design on the fly. So here, one of my colleagues is working on polynobes that have been create a radial symmetry around, and he's changing the number of spokes and the size of the whole shape of the spoke itself. So a very quick example, but the main USP here is that you can go back and change things really quickly and intuitively. Moving on to something else, we've been improving the user interface and the experience since 2019, and it's not done yet. So we are really putting in effort to improve it every day. So the images that you see here might look slightly different from what I show you, even in terms of colors and the look and feel and so on. So here you can see there are some elements that I wanted to quickly highlight. Is the overall look is more traditional in terms of having 4 modeling views and having your model browser. That's what we call it. You're basically a scene on the left with all the other tabs and all the windows collapsed and all the tools at the top. But what we try to, what we're striving to achieve is the ease with which you can access all of these and create the model, without making it very busy. I will run you through all of these one by one, but for the time being, we'll quickly jump on to some additional advantages of incorporating Studio in your workflow. So traditionally, if you come from a background in CAD, you would be used to sketch planes and sketching. So we have included that in the latest version, which was a big step forward from our initial philosophy of just creating sketches in views as opposed to on planes. But we do realize that a lot of our customers are more comfortable with sketching on a plane as they are just sketching in free space. So we have added this as a new option. So it includes complete parametric sketching, as you can see on the left side. And on the right side, it's just a comparison of what you can do with mesh modeling within Studio. So for those of you who are not very familiar, Studio is actually positioned in a way that it can leverage creation of very organic shapes. If you take other programs, you would probably need a plugin and to get this sort of an output, but we are placing Studio as one all-in-one solution. So I will also show you how you can use polynubs to come up with really cool shapes. So here I have another example of a car body that was created completely using polynubs. So a lot of design studios are leveraging this to come up with quick concepts in the first few phases of development, wherein you can edit things on the fly before you actually go and create the full-fledged Class A surface model. And this is also very helpful if you're running some tests, some aerodynamics tests on these shapes. So we are also working on making it easy for you to export such data into Altair's other products that allow you to run such simulations. So you can really start with the right design at the very beginning. So another quick video of showing how we have some specific tools for creating wheel arches and side profile, and how you can build upon that with very specific tools for edge modeling, vertices modeling, and also face modeling. So this is an added benefit because you can mix and match these tools. So you're not really stuck with a mesh just because you started with a mesh. You can use a mesh and use surfaces and solids along with the mesh. So that really brings a different type of advantage, because you're really allowed to be flexible. So here, even though he's starting off with a very rough model, you can keep adding details to it, use specific measurements to move vertices or faces around. And we also added symmetric modeling here. You can see that he's just creating one design feature at the one half of the model, and everything's updating on the fly. So this is a very trimmed example. Of course, this is not happening at this speed. It is definitely happening fast, but not at this rate. But the result is pretty much instantaneous with construction history, and also especially with polynubs, because it's so light and there is no real history in it. It's just moving points based on some underlying curves. Like here, he's aligning it to curve. So Yeah, so we are targeting like 1 day turnaround as opposed to several days or even a week. That's what we are targeting here. And here are some quick examples of what you can achieve with the render. So here we have a render of a cycle that has different parts. So the main body, the frame is made of solid and surface modeling. The wheel is made with polygonal modeling, and the rendering is basically built in. So you don't have to purchase a different render or another plugin for it. So let's jump into the program itself. So I actually opened something before you got here, but I'm going to keep it open right now. So here you can see, I'm just going to fit some of the scene. I just opened the scene to show you the different kinds of lighting we have. I'll eventually get to that, but the look and feel of the program is very straightforward. All of your tools are on the top here, and they are put into something we call ribbons. So this is the surfaces ribbon, and all the surfacing tools are here. If you go to modify, you can see some familiar tools like creating a round or a fillet, or if you call that, intersects and trims. You can also go to sketching tab, which gives you all the tools for sketching and so on. So you can either use these to figure out what you want, or in 2019 we actually added something called as a tool belt. So when I do an alt right click, I can quickly see the tools that I need to access. So let me start a quick, I'm going to save this and start a new scene. So as I was saying, the look and feel is pretty much traditional with 4 cameras, top, front, right, and the perspective, but you can pretty much work in the perspective all the time. So for example, if I'm here, I can use this cube to switch what I want to see. And if I want to go back to my home view, I just hit the home button. So you can start with the sketch or even just a basic curve. So here, I'm going to start in the front view. I'm just going to create like a circle. So you can go to freeform circle and just click and draw. So you can specify the exact size. So 8 centimeters is fine. Then if you want to create a copy, just Control-C, Control-V. And all of your model, your scene basically sits here on the left side. So if you double click on any object, you can edit it. So let's just quickly change the size of it. Let's just say 10. And what I want to do is I want to create like a sweep. Okay, I'm trying to create a hair dryer here. So I need a path curve. So I'm going to quickly draw a NURBS curve, and I want to sweep these 2 circles along this path, right? And even though the circles are placed in the front view and the sweep has to go from left to right, everything is going to be fine because we have options to do that. So if I go to sweep, it's asking me for profiles. I'm just going to select 1 and 2, right click and say path. I'm going to select this one. So by default, it'll try to do something that's not correct, but you can auto align it to bring it to this position here. So you can see that it has created a sweep for us. When I was saying construction history, it's mainly the ability to change, right? You would want to go back and do something without having to redo it. So here, let's say I want to add another curve, a profile in the middle that's larger than the other 2 curves. So all I have to do is create that new profile. Let's say it's about 14, slightly larger. Okay, and I want to place it in the middle here. So the easiest way, traditionally what you would have to do, you would have to delete this and redo the sweep again, but not here. So you just double click on it. If you go to the profile list, you can see there are 2 curves. I just want to add something in between. So I select the object and then I say, insert after this entity. So when I select insert after, I can click my new circle and it's going to throw it in the middle. And that's it. I hit the green check mark. And there I am. I've gone and edited something that I already created by inserting objects into that. So you can even go and change the shape of the curve. So it's going to update. So let's just make it like this. I'm hitting 2 on the keyboard for surfaces, 1 for wireframe, and so on. So now that we have this one, let's just quickly do You can just select these and move it out here. And let's start by creating the handle of this, right? So again, for the handle, I would just start with another NURBS curve and just throw it in here. So even after you've created something, a NURBS curve, you can add additional points by using these graphic handles. A lot of these are intuitively designed so that you don't have to click additional buttons. Once again, here I want to sweep something. I can either do a single sweep that will keep the same profile, or two of them. So I'll do Alt right click and go to sweep and select these two, right click, select this one, not alignment. So here I'm not happy with the direction. I want to just reverse it, so I can do reverse the profiles order. So so now that we have this one, I'm just going to create an intersect. So again, a lot of these tools are available here on the top, or you can even go to Alt right click and figure it out. If you want to edit the tool belt, you can always go to File, and you can go to, you can go to View, and you can change the tool belt, or you can also go to Help, Customize tool belts. And here we have all the different tool belts, starting with the Alt. Shift Alt is for sketching. Control Alt is for polyNURBS, and also this one, if you can actually hold on all these keys at once, you can even do Control Alt Shift and right click. So here you can throw in some more tools and make it your own. So at the moment, I'll not change anything. It's pretty easy to reorder these. You can just drag them apart. If you don't want something, let's say you don't use a tool very often, you can just drag it into the trash can here. So I'm not going to save it. So here I am, and I want to do a quick intersection, right? So in the intersection, I'm going to say intersect this surface and this surface. So I right click, and it's going to show me what I can remove, and I can quickly go there and click on it to remove it. And when I right click and swipe, I finish the operation. So some of these objects are created as a single surface after the operation is complete, and intersect is one of them. And so here I have an intersect. So of course there's a common edge here, and I can throw in a radius, right? So I can add one, and I can increase it, can force curvature, and then so I have this main body that I quickly created in a matter of minutes, and now I can change things even after I've created. So when I select an object, here you can see on the left side, it shows me the way I created it. So that's what we call the history or the construction tree, or parent-child relationship here. So you can just drill down into it to find what you want. So let's say that you wanted to change one of the first things you drew, which was the body of this upper half, right? So when you select that, that was the first sweep that we created. So that's sweep number one. You can go into that and say, hey, I want to change the size of this opening in the front here. So all you have to do is double click on it. It'll tell you exactly where it is. And when you type in 6, it's just going to change it here. Or let's say you make it 7. As long as the program is able to figure out and not break any intermediate steps, it's going to give you the right result. But there could be times when it might break. So I'll try to show you one such example. So if we hit 1 on the keyboard, let's say this curve was not all the way inside. So if I move it down, you can see that at some point the program might break the tree because there's no valid surface that could be generated, but it'll still hold, or rather it will still give you the last valid surface. So here I moved the point of the sweep line much below, and so when I select the round, I can see that the round is the one that failed, nothing else. So I'll have to redo the round, and most likely the fillets failed because the size of the radius is too much. So we can try to reduce it, and see if that's going to work. Maybe curvature continuity is not possible, so we can debug it in that way. So when something fails, you can definitely easily figure out in the program itself. I'm just going to redo this. So I removed the round, and I can add it again if you want. So let's go to the back here, and this is where I want to show how you can quickly create solids out of surfaces. Okay, so here, this is a sweep. So I could have closed the openings of the sweep in the sweep command itself. So if I double click on the sweep, I have a caps option. So if I cap it, it's going to cap. So, but in many cases, you wouldn't have capped it, or maybe it's not conducive to cap. So you end up with something like this, an opening. So how do you close it? So it's pretty straightforward. You go to patch. It's a tool to patch edges. So you can patch this edge. And the same way you can patch any opening in the model. So I'm going to repeat the last command, which was patch, and patch this one. And for the last part, I will patch this one. So let me patch this. Right. So I have these 3 patches that are all surfaces and this main body. So at the moment, this is not a solid object. This is just a bunch of surfaces. So in Studio, you get an option to convert these kinds of layouts wherein surfaces are at least tangential and they have a closed edge into a solid. Right? It's like stitching these edges. And that's what I do with a combine tool. So when I hit combine, just select all of these. Or maybe I'll just select it, think. So I have this one and this one and the last patch, and I right click. So combine does something that is pretty cool. It's like it stitches everything and creates a solid as long as there is no gap. It's not some magical tool that will heal an opening. As long as there is no opening, it's going to create a solid. So how do we check it's a solid? I mean, I would want to trust the program, but I want to also make sure that it is closed. So in this case, we can go to the analysis tab, which has a bunch of analysis options like drafting, tolerance check, the volume, and some continuity checks. So here, all I want to know is it open anywhere? Because if it's open, it's going to cause some problems for me downstream. So that can be done using the tolerance check. When I hit tolerance check, it says, okay, there is no problem. This is a closed solid right now. So that's the way you would quickly check. You can perform some analysis on your object before you move on to the next one. So here you can see at the bottom, there's a small pop-up saying you want to save the file. Because I didn't save it, it's going to ask me. You can say, don't ask me again, or I can just say, okay, in which case it will open this, the last file that I used, and you can save it here. So some of these preferences can be edited in the file preferences. So when I go to general, I have a auto save that has been enabled, and the 5-minute time interval has been set. I use this so that it reminds me if I start something and I don't save it. And there's also some safe saving and crash recovery options that you can turn on if you're working on something very important, or you forget to save it often, or a very large file which is susceptible to slowness or some integrity issues. But at the moment, we are doing fine. So we have the surface, and now you can just think about what else can we do here. I can add another fillet at the back here, right click, and then increase the size. 3.5 is fine. Okay, so now I want to create a pattern, or create some holes in the back here of for that exhaust. So just stay with me here, because first I want to create a shelling of this. So now I'm going to shelling, and I'm going to select this. So it will create this shell for me. If you want, you can even shell this bottom part so that it's a complete hollow piece, and you can give the exact thickness. So let's say . And now I want to use this back part to create a pattern, like a circular array of holes. So how can I do that? I just want to first make sure that I can use one of the edges here. So I'm going to just extract one edge here. So let me go to curves, and I can edge extract this one, right? So I have this edge that I've extracted, and now I want to create a sphere, just a simple sphere of maybe 1.5 centimeters. So I want to just create a pattern of this along this circle. So there are some pretty handy tools for replication. So I can go to modify and quickly choose replicate. And the object I want to replicate is the sphere. And when I do a right click, sorry, I didn't click the path. So let me redo that. Replicate object, and the path is this one. You can see that it creates a replicate along the circle, and I can increase the number of copies like this. And although I wanted the circle to be, the replicates to be further out, I can actually do that by moving the replicates themselves. So when I click on this small graphic handle here, I get a chance to move them anywhere as long as they are within the surface, right? So I'm just going to go to the front view. I'm going to turn off the grids here. So I have grid snap 2. And also, I'm going to disable all the snaps because I don't want snapping to work at the moment. So I'm just going to pull it out here and right-click swipe. And I want to make sure this is a combined output. So otherwise, all of these will be separate spheres. So I'm going to combine the output. And there you have a quick replicate. And now I can do a Boolean subtraction. So this is where solid modeling comes into play. All this while we were working with surface modeling. When we created the main body and we shelled it, it became a solid. So from now on, we need to use solid modeling techniques. So I'm going to do a subtraction. This surface, right-click and objects are this one, and it's going to create a quick subtraction of this one. Again, there is no reason why you just shouldn't be changing this. I feel like changing it now. So I'm going to go to the sphere. I'm going to change it to 1. It made the hole smaller. So now I just want to change the replicate. So I'm going to double click on the replicate and change it to 25. Right. So now it's going to make all of these changes without any problems. But now if I change the size of the sphere, of course, it's going to create some problem because it's going to merge all of these holes into one. Now, if you look at this model browser on the left side, it looks like, hey, where are all the objects I created? It looks like there are only 5. So what we are trying to do here is to keep a very clean look by showing you only the top level objects. If you come from the previous version of Studio, which is Evolve or Solid Thinking, you're used to seeing a very large tree that is chronological, which means we just keep showing you everything that is being created at this in the scene, no matter where it is in the tree. If you're somebody who likes to see everything in your scene, you can just click on this Show Hide All Source Objects. When I do this, you can see everything that you've created so far. It's chronologically placed. So the Boolean subtraction is the last thing you did, right? But if you turn it off, it's going to be the last thing you did, but it's not very clear what all surfaces are being used, or what curves were used, and so on. So this is just a quick, quick way to show you how you can do surface and solid modeling. Now let's jump into sketching quickly. So here I'm going to the front. I want to sketch something here in the front, right? So I'm going to sketching, and I will say, you can just start sketching by creating a sketch, but let's start with just a square or a rounded polyline. It's either one is fine. So I'm going to start with a square, rectangle, and I'm going to choose the front view. Sometimes if there are objects in the way of your mouse pointer, you can always choose just move them out and then select it. So here I'm going to place something along this center line, like this. You can you don't have to fully constrain sketches in Studio, so that's not a prerequisite, but if you're somebody who are you're more comfortable doing that, you can constrain it. So let's say I want to say this is like 4 centimeters from the bottom, and this is like 1.8. Let me give the size of this, make it 3.5. I apologize for any screaming and shouting that you might hear because my son is at home. So here I have, let's make it 6. And the last thing I want to do is I want to just align the center point with the axis. So I select both of them. I'm going to delete this 1.85 because that won't let me align it. So I'll select the center of this square, hold Control, select the origin, and make it horizontally constrained. So now I have all of these, this main sketch here. I can add fillets to this sketch itself using the fillet option, or you can add fillets to the surface. Either way is fine. I'm going to show you the latter. So here, I want to create a trim of this. So let me just use a trim command with the sketch. So here you can see I'm using sketch with a solid object. I used curves before. So I'm just going to do this, and a trim by default will go through and through all the way, right? So here I can see that it's gone all the way from the front and come out from the back. So I don't really want it. I want it to stop here at the front. So the way I can do it, I can say, hey, you know what? Give me just custom distance. I don't want whole side. I just want custom distance, and the distance is something I can specify by pulling this arrow inside. So I'm going to just stop at 6 centimeters from the point here. So here I'm going to keep the exterior, and there you go. So it actually created a trim that didn't come out from the other side. And in some cases, I would like to turn off the grid because it gets busy. So I'm just going to turn off the grid, and you can add fillets to this part now, right? So you can just go in here and add a fillet here. If you did not want to do this, you could have added fillets to the sketch. So let's step back. So I'm going to hit delete, go back here, and in the trim, I'm going to the sketch, and I will just say, give me a fillet for all of these, and I'm just going to exit from the sketch, and boom. So I got the trim updated even before I exit the sketch. So this way you can use many of these techniques, right? Now I want to close this opening again. As I said earlier, I can use a patch here, and I select this edge. If you have internal curves, it can create something. So at this point, it can't really fix this because there is no internal curves to guide the continuity. But if you can create some of the curves there, you can also patch that. But let's do edge extract on this. Okay, so I created this edge. I'm going to do Q to bring it back. And now if I try to patch this, it should give me a patch. So I could patch the edge even without any of the internal curves. The reason I did this is because, eventually you could create a switch here that will control the speed of the air coming out, so on and so forth. So we have a very similar tutorial in the pack, so you can run through this very easily. So let me open that. I'll show you where it is. So if you go to File, Open, I'm going to say yes. Let's go to Program Files. Altair. Okay, I think it's in the documents. Sorry. So it's in the scenes folder. I'm sorry, I can't really remember off the top of my head, but it's one of the tutorials that goes through this. So let me jump into the next part, which is the polynubs aspect of it. So let's say you want to create something in the front that is not a surface or a solid technique, but more of a polygonal modeling. So you can go to polynubs and start working with it. So I'm going to start with the poly disk. I'll bring back the grid here and poly disk. So I'm just going to say, give me grid snapping 2, and I'll create one disk like this. So let me bring it out. So I have a disk here. And now here I am working in edges or vertices or faces, right? So I can just select all of the faces and I can just extrude them. I'm holding shift to extrude it. So I can extrude it like this once, and I can extrude it once again. So now I have these vertices that I can work with. So I'm going to just right click swipe, hit A on the keyboard, and I can scale these now. So I'm going to just select these top vertices, and I can just use some of these handles to drag it down. So let me zoom in a little bit. So I can just push it down and then use this one to pull it up. Then select all of these and use the scale button. I'm sorry, Alt to turn scale, and I can change the shape of this. So here I can use a polynubs to do this because it's much faster than creating a curve and then sweeping it and so on, and it gives me more flexibility here. I can select only the front faces, the front vertices, and I can do another scale, and now only in the Y direction. So I'm going to select this Y axis and scale it. And you can just control more of these with precision if you want to move it. So now that we have this, let's go ahead and create some other forms of polynubs too. So in this example, I can probably show this one, but there are some additional examples which I can show you where you can create bridges and so on and so forth. So let's save this file and move into something simpler. So I'm going to start a new scene. So here I have polynubs, right? So again, with polynubs, what I'm going to do, I can pretty much start with either a cylinder or a polydisc or a plane. So there are many options for you to start. Let's start with as we did earlier with the polydisc. And now I won't give an inside radius, so it'll be 0. So if I hit D, I can do right click, select all, and then I can just extrude it. So here I've extruded something, but it's just very soft looking, right? So it looks like a pillow, but I want to make it sharper. So I can say, go to edges mode. I can select the outer edges using Alt. So here I can add a sharpness, or I can even increase the strength. Let's make it stronger like this. And I'm going to make a copy of this. It's basically another polynubs, and move it up here. And I will hit A. I'm creating something like a coffee cup with a coaster. So it's built in. So I can just move it out and go to scale. And if I want to scale it uniformly, I can just click in this XY plane and do like 2 or something. So let's scale it by 2. And now I want to add some vertices here, right? Nothing is there between this top and bottom. So I can do add edge loop here. So I can click and draw an edge loop. So I'm going to drop one here and say one here. Now I want to just scale these slightly. So I will do the same thing. Go to move, then scale it, but this time I'm going to scale it by like 1.25. Okay, so I have this one. And now I don't want the opening here. I'm sorry, I want an opening here. So how can I do it? I can, delete some of these faces here. So right now we are looking at it in a nerbified mode, right? It's not like a mesh. So if I hit N on the keyboard, I can actually see how it looks in a mesh format. So this is how it would look without smoothing. So now I can just select, some of these surfaces, and I can just hit delete. So I'm going to just select some of these. You can even go to advanced selection and then just select the loops like this. So there are some handy selection filters that will let you select multiple edges with just advanced selection. So when you're done with advanced selection, you can turn it off, and you're in the main window, you can just delete it. Right, so now we have an opening, and I'll hit N again. So now I can select all of them and give them a thickness that I want. So I'm going to just click and drag it. Let's say 3 centimeters is fine. And there was some skewness here, but I think we can manage. So I'll hit S, and you can see this edge has still retained the sharpness. So I'm going to turn it off, right? And now let's say I want to merge these two polynopes together. I just need to add them to the single object. So I'm going to say merge this one and this one, so they become the same single polynopes object. And I can just start by adding one more loop here. And I can start by pulling this edge out. So basically I want to draw a handle that goes out and goes into this bottom portion. So I'm going to select both of these faces using Control and just going to pull it out. But you see there's a problem here that the normals are reversed. So I'm just going to say Control Z and then right click on this one, go to faces, select all faces, and then right click and say unify all. So that means we'll unify all the normals. Now I can do what I was showing you earlier, which is select two, and then it has not done it. So anyway, so let's basically the normals have to be unified. So I'm going to just start with this bottom portion here, just pull it out, and then bring the top part. We can add some more details later. So I'm going to just select this face, hit W, and just move it out. One more extrusion, and now I can just bridge this face, the one on the inside, hold Control with this, and then just bridge it. So basically what I did was, although it looks a bit skewed, I just can edit the points and rotate it if I want to fix this. So anyway, the deal was to quickly come up with some designs using polynopes, and this is just one example where you can do it. And the last part I wanted to show you was basically the rendering, the built-in rendering. So I'm just going to quickly open another scene. So here I have a scene that has multiple kinds of lights. So I have some cameras that are set up, and it's basically a room. So right now you can see that I'm going to hide the curves using Q, and this is the surfaces mode, right? When I hit 1, I'm in wireframe. 2 is in surface. 3 is just a matte cap, as we call it. You can change the material cap. 4 is zebra, 5 is real-time rendering, and 6 is when you can actually look at the interactive rendering. So I'm going to start interactive rendering. So real-time will just quickly give you a look at the materials, but if you really want to see kind of a realistic depiction, then you can go to interactive render. And here, depending on the graphics card being used, it's probably going to be faster or slower. So right now if I go to my camera and rendering, I have an RTX 4000, and it's probably the best bang for the buck. You can even use gaming cards if you have one. So here I have optics denoiser has been enabled, so you can see the scene is a bit, blurry because it's just running denoiser even in the interactive rendering portion, and it's still going to keep improving this part. You can turn it off here if you want, but then it'll just be the usual grainy, way of improving. So here, I have already rendered the scene, right? So I rendered the scene once, and I also did something called as a relight. So in relight, what happens is you can have multiple lights in the scene, and you can turn them off and on, depending on what you want. So here I have one light coming from the outside, which is the environment light. I have a projector light with an image of a person, so it makes it look like somebody standing. I have a regular light that is like this lampshade, and I also have a monitor that is, supposedly just keep emitting some white light, and I have some IES lights on the top, which are manufacturer specific. So let me go to the base scene, which is more of a without the materials, just to show you how the light is going to change based on what I turn off and on. So even though you have I closed the program. I'm in the different program called as a dark room, which is part of Studio. Let me just show you that. So even though I'm in dark room, I can load a scene that I've rendered already. So this was a scene I rendered a while ago. If I hit I can see the information that it was rendered in 10 minutes with 500 samples. So these are all you can set. So let me jump to relight here. And in relight, you can see all these lights at the bottom, right? These are all the different lights I have on the scene. And you can either make each one of them turn on and off separately, or you can even make one of them solo. So I'm going to go here and just say, make the projector light solo. When I do that, it's going to turn off all the other lights and give me just the projector light. Same thing with, let's say I want only the emitter from this window, and everything else is turned off. And you can turn on lights. If you turn them off one by one, you can even create whatever scenes you want. So the point here is that you can add these images as into the timeline. Here you can see there's a timeline. So at frame 1, I can add this, which is basically the IES light and the emitter light. So I can go to frame 10 and turn off the IES and turn on the projector and add it to the frame. So I can create this kind of an animation of lighting to show your clients how the room or the scene looks with different. So it's not just artificial lights. You can also add sunlight and environment lights using image-based lighting. And here I'm in the image browser, right? So let me load that other scene back. Whenever you make changes, it's going to ask you want to save it. You can just save it, or you don't have to. It's up to you. But now I'm going to load that image with the materials here, and I will show you some of the features in the darkroom that are like post-processing. The reason why I'm showing more of the darkroom is if you were part of the other webinars, I covered rendering and other options a lot. So I just want to focus a little bit on darkroom because it's a super, it's a very, very effective and it's a free program. It's actually a free program that comes with Studio. So it's very powerful. So here I have this light, and I can turn on expert mode, wherein I can give increase the ISO. So right now I have 300 by default, it's set to 100. You can turn on white balance if you feel like your scene needs something. And you can also do some glares and vignetting. So most often these were part of post-processing, like you had to take image into a different program and you had to add it like in Photoshop, but here you can do it, pretty much everything inside Studio. So I've added all of these and I can just save this image now as a new file with all of these changes. So, the darkroom is very, very powerful. So I'd really encourage you to try it out. So I want to give some time for people to ask questions if there are any. There is also a drawing mode that I really did not have enough time to cover, but I can quickly do that now. So let's say that I'm just going to start with a simple object. I'm going to do a shelling of this one. Right. Let's just quickly jump into drawing. So here in drawing mode, you can add a view set for a particular object and place it in the view. And you can add child objects by clicking this arrow here. So I'm not going to add a child view. I can even add an isometric view like this one. So let's see, if you want to add a detailed view, I can select which point I want and zoom in on that point and place a detailed view here. I can even add a section view. So I go to section and select one of these as a parent, and it'll give me section view that I can place. So I just want to make sure that I at least show some of these, because it will take its own webinar to show everything, but make sure that you look at YouTube, because I'm going to be adding a lot of these tutorials and small run-throughs, all of these features, and it'll give you a very good idea of how to use and where you can leverage these. I'm going to stop right now, but feel free to contact us either through YouTube or one of the other social media channels, and definitely take advantage of that 90-day webinar 90-day promo that Novedge is giving you, because it really makes it easy for you to test something out, right? Because sometimes it is not easy to learn something new within 5 days, as opposed to 90 days is a lot. So feel free to play around with it, and always we are available if you have questions or you get stuck, and we would really like you to see how powerful this is and the value that's really hidden in this program when it comes to all the features that are available in just one product as a whole. So if Barbara, if you're still there, I would like to put it back to you.
Arjun. I'm going to take the screen back, and I'll still wait for some questions. There are none at the moment. And like Arjun said, take advantage of the free trial promotion. Email sales@novedge.com and request it, and you'll be able to download it shortly after. This is, I also want to show you the page where you can find Inspire Studio at novedge.com. And as you know, Novedge is changing the way designers purchase 3D software. How so? Well, first of all, you have a lot of choices, and you have the freedom to make choices across brands, and we have the fastest service, and there's people always on the phone ready to assist you. So it doesn't get any better. Arjun, we don't have any question. I'm just going to wrap it up by saying this webinar has been recorded, and I will upload it on YouTube later today. So if you want to watch it again or show it to people, or colleagues or bosses, it's there to stay. Thanks again for joining us today. Have a great rest of the day, everybody. Thank you, Arjun. That was awesome.
Thank you.
Say hi to your kid.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye, everybody.